Your sound sounds like a Bontempi organ. Your sound sounds like a Casio keyboard. But that doesn't seem appropriate for the price. Perhaps you know such statements in your band. I always find it really great when you've put in the effort and programmed a blaze of sound that you are truly satisfied with, and then the band comes in and blows you away with something like that. And then I always think, hey guys, I could just play the piano, organ, and electric piano, and then it would be good. Those are the sounds that a keyboard instrument actually plays. It doesn't play anymore. And when is the guitarist ever asked, this is not really the original delay or the original sound? When a guitarist does this, it's cool, but he actually gets very, very little praise and recognition for it. It just goes unnoticed. And if he doesn't do it, it doesn't matter. The same is often true for drums. If someone adds a few effects or uses an electronic drum or has a triggered kit, and then brings a bit more sound, that's cool, but nothing comes from that. However, if I play a whole top 40 gig with a piano or an organ, at least afterwards people will ask, is something wrong with your setup? Or what's wrong with you? Or, oh, you're the sub and didn't have time, or things like that. How is it with you guys? Maybe you can also write something in the comments about how you handle it. So I know a band I joined, and they were just super excited about the sound I was producing because the keyboardist before me only played piano or organ. He was really good technically, and I felt totally outmatched by him. But that is not necessarily what is needed in a cover band, especially in a top 40 gig. You simply need this complete package. You have to be able to play sufficiently, but you also have to deliver the sound to get somewhat close to the original sound or song, or at least have a recognizable quality. There are a few typical things. Of course, you can also play calmly on the piano, but that's no longer a rock number. If I play it as a rock number, I have to play it with a synth sound in some way that comes close to it. You can be flexible, but it has to be that sound. What's really striking are the brass instruments. For example, I think for Sexy on the Cornos, you can listen to it as well. I have to think about it, linked it up there. You can feel free to check it out. I find this brass instrument cool. I control it with the vector stick, allowing me to fade in and out the volume, so I blend 5, 6, or 7 different timbres together. I also use the volume pedal additionally and concentrate a lot on playing the brass, so I don't play the piano that much, which is also included, but I focus more on the brass. I'm working on the brass arrangement. I think it sounds really good, and I've received a lot of positive feedback for it. I haven't quite managed to get it right with Geek Performer yet. The Kronos is really cool. Strikers are usually not a problem, and neither are pads. What is always a topic though is these brass instruments. How do you handle that? Do you really play brass instruments, or do you clearly say, hey, I'm the keyboard player and I only do this if the others do it too? Guitarists now, with campers and modeling, can theoretically set up the right gear for any song or sound, or even use a software solution, which is also possible for guitarists these days. However, there are still expectations placed on the keyboardist, and as a result, the effort required for the keyboard is significantly higher. We don't just need to talk about the selection of keyboard sounds, it's also not easy to pick out the guitar, bass, and drums. The drums in particular can be very, very complicated, and maintaining subtlety on the guitar is also challenging. Well, every instrument has its quirks, especially when you have multiple guitar tracks. The guitarist has to decide on one. But as a keyboardist, I don't just have my instrument, which I feel at home with, like the piano and organ, for example. I need to pick out a string track, I need to pick out a synth track, and I might also need to pick out a percussion track that the drummer can't provide, but which is important. I need to listen to the brass section, and then decide, like the guitarist, what I will play from it, and what is important. Then I also have to program that. And then the band says at the next rehearsal, that's not what we want. We would find it much cooler if you played this, so I put a lot of work to waste. That's why I think I explained it in some video at some point. If I find it, I'll link it up there, showing how I prepare for it. So I first program something roughly and rudimentarily that can be played, even if I can hear all the nuances, so that the song can be played, see how it goes, and then discuss with the band what I will actually play. Because the decision should not rest solely with me. Of course, it corresponds to my abilities, but fundamentally, I believe the band should decide what works well and what doesn't. But the main theme for me is, are you a keyboardist in the sense that you really play everything that the keyboard can do, the great workstations, or do you limit yourself to what the red one can do, like piano, organ, and a few synths, leaving out all the other nonsense?